Good morning, Operation Hope. Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed an honor and a privilege to be here today as we focus our energy on empowering the poor and the underserved and create pathways to prosperity. In April of this year, just a few short weeks ago, I was sworn in as chairman of the National Credit Union Administration, the regulator of the federally insured credit unions, which serve over 116 million members, and we have responsibility for over $1.5 trillion in assets. My primary responsibility is the industry's safety and soundness. But ladies and gentlemen, where appropriate, I want to encourage the financial services industry to take reform-minded steps that better meet the needs of the communities and citizens we serve. A good place to start would be extending second chance opportunities to job applicants with criminal records for minor nonviolent offenses. It is hard to estimate accurately the number of Americans with criminal records, but one commonly cited number is 70 million, roughly 1 in 3 people. A great many of these Americans face barriers to hiring that leave them unemployed or underemployed. Fortunately, policymakers like myself and corporate leaders have begun to rethink these punitive hiring practices. I say it's about time, and the financial services industry can and should play even more of a leading role in welcoming these individuals back into the mainstream of American life. I understand that there are some particular sensitivities. For instance, it would be difficult to make the case for a job applicant with a past financial crime that would undermine customer trust. However, we should not be afraid to give people a second chance if they've made a good faith effort to rehabilitate themselves and they've paid their debt to society. The NCUA board is making a concerted effort to provide second chances when we can and where we can. Under the law, anyone convicted of a crime involving dishonesty or breach of trust may not work at a credit union or bank unless he or she first obtains a waiver. Since I became chairman a few weeks ago, we approved an employment waiver for a woman who has a criminal record. But she paid her debt to society, rehabilitated herself, and has no further history of criminal behavior. A drug addiction from nearly 25 years ago would not prevent her from today working at a federally insured credit union. I'm grateful that my fellow board members and I were able to grant her request, and we recognize and appreciate the hard work she has put into turning her life around. She, like many other Americans, deserved a second chance. Not only should we find ways to bring those with low-level criminal records out of the shadows, but also we have a responsibility to bring more people into the financial mainstream by improving access to safe and affordable financial services so that these individuals can pursue a pathway to prosperity. These individuals include the disabled, the disadvantaged, the underserved, and those who reside in our rural and low to moderate income communities. The NCUA is committed to fulfilling the Federal Credit Union Act's purpose of making credit readily available to people of limited means. And I have challenged the NCUA's leadership to find ways to expand access to affordable financial services. I'm also working with the NCUA's Office of Minority and Women Inclusion to ensure that we are doing everything we can to support small, low-income designated and minority credit unions. For example, beginning next week on June 2nd, low-income credit unions can apply for nearly $2 million in grant funding for training, outreach to the underserved, digital services, and financial education certifications. Thank you. And I hope there are credit unions here today that are going to apply for some of those grants. Grant initiatives such as these can help these vital institutions provide more services to our most underserved areas throughout the country. While the NCUA can do its part, the credit union industry must work together with others like you in this room today from Operation Hope. It's going to require new ways of thinking, partnerships, and investments in technology. Giving millions of Americans with minor criminal records a second chance, along with addressing the lack of those with access to financial services in today's society, is going to require a lot of work and collaboration. That's why today I certainly look forward to our continued partnership efforts with Operation Hope. I hope that we can continue to help create those pathways to prosperity. With that being said, thank you all for the work that you're doing in your local communities. May God bless you all, and may God bless America. Thank you.